should I have
Welcome to Media Path. I'm Fritz Coleman.
And I'm Louise Palanker.
You know, there's more in life to be curious about than what's in boxes in the bathroom at Mar-a-Lago. There are books and movies and TV shows and other content served up every week on many platforms. Here at Media Path, we like to call some of the better things to your attention. And then after we get your attention, we really make it worth your while by bringing on fabulous guests like Craig Shoemaker. Craig's a multi-award-winning stand-up comic, one of the best working. He's a writer and producer and actor and author, the founder of a great organization called Laughter Heals. We'll talk about that. He's been my friend for years. We went to the same college. He graduated. I didn't. Craig will join us in a few minutes for a conversation. Wheezy, what do you have for us?
Oh, okay. So I am going to talk about Never Let Him Go on Hulu. Los Angeles brothers Steve and Scott Johnson grew up close and smart and curious and inventive and destined to explore and discover the world together. It was the edge of the computer age, and great wonders and achievements awaited their intellectual contributions. Until Scott, just days away from earning his doctorate in mathematics at Australian National University, was found dead beneath a cliff in Manly at the age of 27. Scott's death was ruled a suicide, but his brother Steve had doubts, and he has doggedly never stopped searching for the truth. Never Let Him Go unfolds its story over 4 episodes, which tug at our own memories of coming to better understand the full range of human sexual and romantic inclinations, and just how many of our loved ones are not conforming to what we were once taught was the natural order of things. Scott died in 1987 when AIDS was surging and people were frightened. And traditionally, male pursuits such as police work were populated by guys who may have easily imagined that if they had ever found themselves attracted to a man or having to admit that attraction to themselves, they would just hurl themselves off a cliff. The Sydney police's immediate response to Scott's death was to rule it a suicide, as if to say this is not a real person problem, he's not of us, his life was disposable, let's just move on. But Steve's determination tracks our own awareness that many of us and our loved ones are on LGBTQ plus spectrums. There are an abundance of personal orientations, and that each life is so very valuable. Steve was successful in his career as an inventor, and he was able to spend a lot of his own money on private detectives, trips to Australia, and exhaustive research. This irritated Australian authorities, who felt that a wealthy American should not be dictating where their attention was focused. Their defensive and insular posture failed to see the bigger picture. Our historic treatment and acceptance of our LGBTQ loved ones demands an enormous correction across decades and societies. Steve was stirring attention with Scott's story, and the world was watching. So why not just do the right thing? Gay-bashing pogroms were rampant in Sydney in the 80s, and waves of anti-gay violence were systemically ignored for decades. There are many unsolved murders of gay men in Sydney, and a number of bodies were found at the bottom of that Manly cliff, all ruled suicides. Not ironically, a good number of the perpetrators were closeted gay or non-binary people. As was the case with the Club Q and Pulse nightclub shooters, it's an act of either self-loathing or an urge to eliminate the objects of your attraction, or maybe it's a fierce resentment against those who are courageous enough to live truthfully. So why can't we better publicize that many gay hate crimes are committed by gay men? And so if you do not want anyone to know that you are gay, stop hurting gay people. Never Let Him Go is excellent, and it's on Hulu.
Wow, sounds good. Are LGBTQ folks less accepted in Australia than they are here? Is it a tougher time for them down there?
I mean, it may have been like a Crocodile Dundee sort of kind of macho culture in the 80s, but I mean, I think in herky-jerky motions, the planet is coming along, but it's different on different continents. I'm not... You may be right. That might be inaccurate, but I don't think it's my place to say. This guy, Steve Johnson, is recognized on the streets in Sydney, so what he's been doing has gotten the attention of the public, and I'm not going to tell you how the series ends because I'm no spoiler, but maybe at that time, at least in Manly, it was a sort of a macho culture there.
Sounds good. I'm going to talk about The Morning Show. This is an Apple TV series that just dropped its 3rd season last week. The 3rd episode of the 3rd season is released tomorrow. This is a workplace soap opera about morning television. It stars Jennifer Aniston as Alex Levy, an iconic host of a Today Show / Good Morning America type program. Her co-star and counterpoint is Reese Witherspoon, who plays plays Bradley Jackson. Bradley is a brash, maverick, in-your-face investigative journalist who comes aboard as the co-host to replace the beloved 15-year co-anchor Mitch Kessler. Mitch has recently been fired because it turns out he's a sexual predator, and played really astonishingly well by Steve Carell. This storyline happened at the same time the Matt Lauer incident was sort of enveloping NBC, and the Me Too tsunami was rolling over the entire entertainment industry, so it really resonated. Billy Crudup plays a colorful network executive who one reviewer described perfectly as Satan while losing a poker game. Such a great line.
Oh my goodness.
I think the show honestly reflects the truth in a high-pressure newsroom environment. The narcissism, the competitiveness, the petty bickering, the manic quest for ratings. They get very current with their topics. Along with Me Too, the tackle is other areas in the current zeitgeist like racism and sexism in both hiring and pay disparity, LGBTQ issues. The first season and a half deal with the accusations against and the firing of Steve Carell's character. Predatory sex, abuse of power. But it's not just dark and light, good guy, bad guy. There is nuance in their treatment of the Me Too challenge. That's what I loved about it. There are innocent workplace romances that sort of get swept up in the controversy. Excellent writing, working with dicey subjects. The end of the second season and into the third, they tackle race. It's about old media attitudes replacing the new ones. The show is created by Jay Carson, who, along with being a TV producer, worked in politics, writing speeches for the Clintons and others. Really a sharp show, and I like it. I'm late to discovery of it, but everybody told me about it, so I couldn't put it off anymore.
Shout out to Holland Taylor. She's killing it. So, yeah, are you on season 3?
Yes, but I'm not all the way through.
Well, they were dropping on one per week because we tried to keep watching.
Yes, right. I'm caught up. I can't wait for the one tomorrow, which is episode.
Yeah. So how much of your workplace do you recognize that?
No, I recognize everything about it. I think Jennifer Aniston represents an iconic female anchor who's been kowtowed to too much in a 40-year career. I've worked with dozens of them, and she, everything that she goes through, she thinks she's the only person on the planet that has problems. She wants everybody else to sort of meld into her life. She's the center of the solar system, and this new girl is sort of Reese Witherspoon. Incidentally, they're both executive producers on this show, Jennifer and Reese. Reese, in this Bradley character, represents the kind of the new journalism which they're doing now. She goes out and enterprises her own stories. She's not afraid to get in people's faces and stuff. And it really, I'll tell you, I don't like stories about, stand-up. I don't like stand-up shows, stories until the hacks came along. I like that. But I just don't like stories about stand-up. I don't like stories about news because I don't think they represent reality. This one comes as close as you can. Anyway.
Yeah, and it's also hitting on a lot of issues that I think affect all humans.
Yeah, without question.
So it's highly relatable because it's really about a workplace, but it's about a workplace that's public.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this guy won a Comedian of the Year award at the American Comedy Awards. I wish they still did that. He did an acclaimed 90-minute stand-up special called Datitude. Great title. He played Wilson Gromling on Parks and Rec as the head of the Liberty or Die Party, way ahead of the extremism we have now. He played Bandit in the critically acclaimed movie Middleman, wrote on season 2 of Fuller House, has a best-selling book entitled Love Master. I can't do it like you. A digital journey to love and happiness. In 2003, he founded laughterheals.org, which is a nonprofit group dedicated to using laughter for healing. A documentary right now he's working on, Live to Laugh. He wrote and starred in Totally Baked, which is a cult classic. He has a production company called Really Big Shoe Productions with a slate of over 25 television and film projects. He and I both went to Temple University. I'm happy to have my friend Craig Shoemaker with us today. How are you, brother? We don't have any time for you now because
thanks for that bio.
He's too busy to be here. He needs to leave.
I got to cut that thing.
You learned it. You learned the great trick of show business, and that is diversify.
It's very important.
But
I learned that at Temple University, and you would have found that out if you graduated.
No,
it was in your final year. You missed it.
I didn't finish at Temple. I went and left like it was sad, and I actually, it's one of my great regrets. I left about 15 credits shy because I was in the radio business, and I got offered a job at Wi-Fi, WIFI, which was a top 40 FM station.
Absolutely.
And I got offered a job, and I could not refuse the gig.
I'm with you. I did the same thing. I didn't finish it first.
And I figure I'm going to college, being taught by teachers who have never worked a day in the business, and I began to resent them a little bit. So I just
agree. What do you know? Although I did have one professor you might remember, Bob Bradley.
Yes.
Remember Bob Bradley?
Yes.
He was one of my professors.
All he could talk about was Bill Cosby. They don't do that anymore, though.
Well, Bill Cosby, that's true. Bill Cosby was one of the reasons I went there. He had a commercial. I don't know if you remember the commercial. He go, Kevin O'Malley, 1,600 on his SATs, number 2 in his class at Cardinal Doherty. He could have gone anywhere, but he chose Temple. That's what drove me to go to Temple.
And David Brenner was a big topic of
Temple
conversation.
Guy, Hall & Oates.
Yes.
That's where they met. They were at Temple.
Yes.
Well, your reunions must be lit.
Well, yeah. Well, they're a little older than me, so these are people that went there before I did. Bob Saget went there. He was actually my deli slicer for my mom. That's how I met him. He was like, my mom would order corned beef from Bob Saget. He worked in his uncle's deli.
Let me ask you a
question. Pride. Yeah.
How was he at slicing deli?
He was
Any talent?
He was a funny guy, no talent in that department. funny in that department. For sure. He won an Academy Award at Temple University, actually.
Yeah, for a student Oscar.
Called Through Adam's Eyes, a movie that he did. Yes.
But
I have like Mary Lou Henner memory, by the way.
Unbelievable.
That was good.
I was just with her the other day. We were like freaks together.
She's a lovely woman.
Yeah, she's the best.
You wrote on season 2 of Fuller House, and so Saget probably has some specific memories for you, even over and above the stand-up world where we knew him.
And the deli slicing.
Yeah, I mean, Bob was. He's another one who's very diverse in his career and really just went wherever he needed to go. You talk about the morning show. He actually was on CBS Morning, and that's how he started as well when he moved to Los Angeles. But remained a really great guy until the end. And that's something that I think that people should follow about us in Philadelphia. We have this reputation that we bomb Santa Claus with snowballs and stuff like that. Philadelphians really are truly rooted. I mean, even the trees are rooted. Out here, they're not. I mean, there's palm trees. They don't even belong here. But there's like this rootedness to, and I train my kids to all be East Coast people because there's something about that. And it is about being genuine and knowing your friends that you've known since kindergarten. My accountant since kindergarten, he passed away recently, but I've known him since we shared a cotton milk together, and this is you know what I mean? It's I really believe in that.
So in Philadelphia, you don't get your own carton of milk?
No, you do not get your own carton of milk. You do get your own cot, but you don't. You have to share the milk.
I'll tell you, there is no more rabid sports town in Philly.
Oh my God!
Because I was in summer school at Temple because I was an underachiever a bit. And there were guys, the first time the Flyers won the Stanley Cup, there were guys in my class that cut their final exam to go to that North Broad Street parade, and they had to go back in September to take the test to see if they passed the last semester.
I remember.
That's how hardcore
I remember it well. Yeah. We ran over someone, so I remember that. But it's insanity what goes on there. They really are into their sports teams. But what I like about it is the family element, and that's something I don't like about Hollywood. It's a transactional community. Everything's based on who you work with, and when you're finished working with them, it's very rare that people are connected in that way.
Yeah, it's like one of the first things I asked you is, can you bring Tom Jones over?
The first thing
That's
you did,
not what you say to someone.
Is this your amends that you're making right now?
It's just I apologize. It's not. That was not okay.
Right out of the gate.
That was entirely transactional.
It's not like you had done anything for me yet.
No,
I mean, I know you're hosting me, and that should be enough for me to go get you Tom Jones. And I think you asked for a few other guests.
Hey,
Bobby
Fritz,
Sherman, I think was on the list. I met him one time, so now he's on the list. I'm your casting director.
Wait, but back the truck up. He brought you a breakfast sandwich.
He did bring me a breakfast sandwich. That is not very
We would
common.
like Bobby Sherman. Okay?
For the breakfast sandwich.
Yes, please.
Where did you start in Philly? Did you start to stand up at the same place Saget did?
I did. Actually, he was on the first stage. My first stage ever, though, was in 107th in West Philadelphia, and it was 107 degrees, actually, and it was in West Philadelphia, and it was really, really hot. I went between sets of a band. I worked in a law firm. And I was 17 years old, and I got like one laugh, and it was like crack. It was crack. I gotta have more of this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this guy, this Jim Mardinley, he was a guitar player, and we were messengers and clerks together at this big law firm in Philadelphia. And I thought I'd be a lawyer, and he said, "You should try comedy, man." I said, "Okay," and I went up and I did some impressions. My first act, I cannot believe that it got any laughs, but it did well, and obviously I'm still at it. So I used to do celebrity smoking pot.
Oh, we need to hear a little of that.
I smoked pot a lot, right?
No, you didn't.
So, and I drank a lot, so I would just my act was just the party extended, but I would add celebrities to the party.
Okay, as if Tom Jones just stopped by.
No, Tom, he was not in it. I can't do Tom Jones. It's not unusual to smoke pot with anyone. It would be like Cheech and Chong. They would, hey man. One time I was rehearsing with my friend. We recorded this, and my mom happened. My mom was a single mom. My dad left when I was born. Something I said, wah, he was gone. Anyway, so my mom came back from a date, and we were all high doing Cheech and Chong. My mom talking about her date who made her smoke pot, and it's the funniest tape. I would literally pay $100,000 for that tape. It's missing, and it's my friend in the background. My mom was like a I guess you call a MILF, and a divorcee. And the entire tape, it's us going, hey, man, Mrs. Shue went out for a joint, man. And Don Dolan's in the background going, Shue, where's your lady at? Where's your lady at, Shue? And then she came home and talked about her pot adventures.
But your
with her
mom was a
son.
hottie because you talked about how she belly danced at one of your graduation.
Now, that's supposed to be off of my bio. My mom had a cease and desist on
No,
that
it's
one. She's not happy about that.
I found
It's
it
a
in
true
your
story, though.
podcast. I found it legit. Like,
It is a true story. She became Scheherazade, the belly dancer. That was her new identity. And I'm not kidding you. These are the words that I heard. She bought us a keg, and I hear it on the record. It was a record player. That's how long back it was. And I hear from upstairs, I have a treat for you and your friends. I'll never forget those words as long as I live. And now descending the stairs is Scheherazade, her new name, with a jewel in her belly button, and finger symbols, veils.
Hey,
and
Mom.
my friends are going, whoa, Mrs. Shue, you're hot. And she was so mad that they threw quarters at her. I said, oh, they're supposed to know the proper etiquette for a belly dancing mother at a graduation party of high school.
Yeah, paper money at least. Come on.
Exactly. That's what she wanted to
who
pay.
raised
Well, I'm
you?
going to talk about that. I want to talk about pot and alcohol with you because I think this is what makes your career a even more special success with the things you've had to overcome in your life. You're sober?
Yeah, my new
as am I.
podcast is actually called, it's called Still Standing Up.
Wow.
And it's subtitled The Turnaround because it's all about how we all turn our lives around, and I happen to have a lot of turnarounds. It's been quite a few.
Well, what you did was you took all this wonderful information you did, and I'll tell you, it ain't easy to be sober in the entertainment business.
No.
And
it's all free.
Yeah,
Everything's free. Everybody
right.
wants to
That's
drink
what I
with
was
you.
going to say.
Yeah.
That was for me. It's free drinks 7 nights a week. You can't get out of
And
it.
even on the airplane.
Yeah,
It's
and
all
so
first class,
I just thought it was it made me admire you even more when I heard your story, because you were able to take what you learned from all the 12-step stuff you did and turn it into sort of a life coaching career, being able to share with people many of the things that you find in 12-step, but life tips, and that's great.
Well, yeah, I tell people when I coach them, and I mentor a lot of people in different businesses. As a matter of fact, you have Kenny Loggins on your wall. I mentored his son. Oh, I have to tell you one of his jokes
Oh, please.
that we wrote together.
Yeah.
His dad is really into colon therapy. I don't know if you knew this.
It's not.
He married his colon therapist.
Wow.
Nude. While they were in the nude, his colon therapist. Colonics, yeah. He's getting
Seriously?
colonics, and he goes, I love this woman. She's got my shit together. Can I curse on here? I just cursed.
Of course. About Kenny, yeah.
I'm sorry. What's that?
Wow.
I didn't think people still did that.
Cursed?
Colonic.
Oh.
Oh, that just sounds.
They don't do it anymore because they've all married off. They've all married their colon therapists. So
I
they're out
had a
of it.
colonic recently. I did that, So I've done it. I've done them a few times. And
What is it about that?
apparently he married his. I guess he get a discount that way.
Yes.
And he got really into it. Now I'm not kidding you. This is a true story. And I'm working with his son on material. His son was doing like regular material. How about these dating apps? All that kind of stuff. I said, come on, man, tell people you're Kenny Loggins' son. So he does, and he says about his dad. He built a machine. It was like from Italy, imported. And it was like it looked like a big cappuccino machine. And it was for these colonics. And he said he says it was in his house. And he goes, my dad literally built his own poo corner.
Whoa. That's genius.
Greatest joke ever.
It really is.
And then he quit comedy. I said, I'm going to be his son just to do the damn joke that I wrote. I thought that was such a great joke. But
A
anyway.
colonic with a nice froth, like a cappuccino.
But anyway,
But you've helped people with
I help people
everything
a lot,
that
and
you've
I
learned.
tell them though, it's not important about the jokes. The jokes are not important. It's important to know who you are, because all the circumstances you're in, we're in every circumstance you can imagine. So, for instance, I'll be on this podcast, and now I might be next week on the Howard Stern show, and then I was on, like Rick Dees for years, and Rick Dees would be like pressing sound effect buttons. Howard Stern wants to make fun of you. So, or I'm touring with the Reebok National Aerobic Championships and leotards and malls, and the lights go out. Who responds? Not the jokes. You respond. So the better you know you and clear out all that stuff and have this expedition of yourself, that's what's going to be the jewels. That's where the real gems are. If you're in the creative business, to tap into that creator, you got to purify. You have to let that out. And you get rid of the baggage that prevents that from that. I call it genuine energy flow. So that's mostly what I teach. And most comedians want to go, people learning comedy want to go, I need an agent. No, you don't need an agent. First of all, anyway. But that you're not going to get jobs from an agent going and making calls for you. I have some news for you. If you know you, it makes all the difference in the world.
But don't people resist that piece of advice
do.
because it requires a ton of work and it's scary?
It's to self-reflect, to be accountable, to make these discoveries really takes a lot of courage. And sometimes people don't have the courage, so what they do is they numb it out or they run away from it. They do even suicide. I've had cases of that, friends or whatever. I mean, people that I know that just couldn't take it anymore. They couldn't take what they were finding. I find everything to be an opportunity. Like ego, I call it, it's an acronym, evading growth opportunity. So if my ego gets in the way, I'm evading opportunity for my own processing, my own release of all these things that keep me down. And what's great about comedians is we do reveal the truth. We pull the curtain, which is wonderful. But if you're not willing to do it with yourself first, then you're just exposing other people. Then you're causing more toxicity, and it's your opinion versus theirs, and you don't really know what their experience is. That's why I don't even get into gossip, into like celebrity gossip and things like that. What's my opinion worth? My experience, if I met Donald Trump, which I have, right? I'll tell you about that story. I'm not going to tell you my opinion on his politics.
No, but we would like to hear the story about how when you met him. Please. Could we?
Not my kind of guy. I mean, so
Fair.
if somebody says to me,
What a generous comment.
Fair.
Well, what I say to people is, and this is true, he does not share my values. So that does not mean, that I have to be campaigning against him and be negative and things like that and just, cherry pick the things that I don't like. I will say that these are the things I experience as something I don't want to pass on to my children. That's all it is to me. Is like we're handing the planet to these children. Who's the best steward of that planet? My opinion is someone like that, even if it's not him. Someone like that is not the answer. So I need people that share my values. And
I think that should be in the campaign against him. What you just said is a beautiful description of why we're at a dangerous inflection point in America.
Why I say that to Christians? I said I have a lot of Christian values. I'm not a Christian, but I have these values, that I hold true.
Me too.
And these are Christ consciousness values, or whatever you want to call it. These are being good to people, telling the truth, and so on. That's how I like to live my life. That's what I want to pass on to the children. So if you have a leader that's showing this as an example. And I feel the same way, about Joe Biden. I mean, I don't go all in with anyone. I'm going to say these are the experiences that I have of them that I'm going to share with my children, that for myself of how I used to lie and how that got me into trouble, or all the things that I've done that prevented me from my true happiness and living a true self and being me. And that's what I try to teach the people. You're so right, though, what you said, though. It is very hard for people to take that step to self-examine themselves, and we're a victim society. We're all about let's come up with new people we can blame, and assign this blame or this cause that we think that you should have, and if you don't, then we're going to shame you for this cause because this is what we believe. we just get into an echo chamber that way. I'm trying to get people to have the echo chamber of themselves.
Right, and I
really,
think,
critical thinking and thought that's connected with a higher source,
and
connected with the divine, ethereal, and have that be the flow of you. And then the funny shit comes out, which hasn't happened in the last 5 minutes, but that's okay.
So rather you're saying rather than fearing it, you when you embrace it,
yes,
it's like colonics. Everything flows, right?
Yeah, maybe that's why I've done a few colonics. But
so is this only comics that you work with?
No.
I was going to say,
mostly not comics. Comics are so cynical. I have a theory. This is what I want to do. Spiritual people, I've been very into the spiritual community for a very long time. Really into God or whatever you want to call it, higher power, higher source, whatever that you want to call that, you deem that to be. I was raised with different religions, so it's kind of like all of it, this all-power thing. But I find that spiritual, religious people are very opinionated and think that you can only go down this one pathway for enlightenment. You can have to sit on a rock in Sedona. You have to say namaste instead of like, hey, have a good day, whatever it is. You have to say something that's Indian that we chose for you. There's that. They're very uptight. And then you got the comedians, very cynical and very sarcastic, very cut off from the heart sometimes, very opinionated. It's all about the mind. So my goal is to build a bridge from the woo-woo to the ha-ha. Trying to get the spiritual people to understand laughter is enlightenment. Laughter is truly who you actually are at your source. That is a wonderful access point to get to God. The cynical people, I'm trying to say, you are spiritual because you tell the truth. The truth is God. So that's what one of my goals is. So a lot of the people that do come, that my private clients, real estate agents that want to be funnier with their clients. My number one is a mortgage guy, number one mortgage guy in Florida. And one of the reasons he's number one is he's now more engaging, more funny. Because you think about your best friends you ever grew up with, people you want to be in business with for years with, it's very scalable, sustainable, are people who make you laugh or make you feel good. Everybody can do statistics and have sales process and, here they're going to do the close here and all that. But how are you going to feel? How are you going to feel with that person? How are you going to recommend them to somebody? You're going to recommend somebody you have a good time with, right? Somebody you want to hang with.
And I like the therapeutic aspect of what you do.
Yeah.
There's some great stats on your website that say, and I never thought of this, that stress is the opposite of laughter.
Yeah.
And 80% of all illness is stress related.
That's exactly right.
And 80% or 90% of all medications sold to people are for stress-related things.
And that usually leads to even more difficulties. That's the unusual thing about it.
To numb it rather than...
You're just numbing it. You're masking it. You're masking something that's at the root. At the very root is where you want to get to, and that's what laughter does. That's it oxygenates your body, healing endorphins, your circulatory systems, engage your brain, your synapses, everything with laughter.
Well, do you go on the road and speak to large groups or small groups, or how do you impart this information to people
small.
when you're out there? Yeah,
I like them to be larger.
Yeah.
But what's against me is corporations. Corporations aren't interested in hearing you have free access to laughter. I do a guided laughitation and chuckle chatter. It's free. I mean, you just access just like your body doesn't know the difference if you're on a hill or a incline or one of those Stairmaster things. It doesn't know the difference. It's getting the benefits. So if you laugh a fake laugh, your body's going, wow, this is healing, man. I'm engaging my own pharmacy here.
Now, do you think that this was instinctive for you, blessedly, because you mentioned that your dad left when you were a baby. You had sisters, so you were the man of the house. Whether you get that or not, on an instinctive level, it seems like you knew that making everybody laugh would help you through your childhood.
Yeah. It borders on the health program I'm on is Stop the Rescuing, and I still do it. I've been rescuing from day one. I used to write letters to people to fix them up with my mother. You'll love the one was Paul Lind. He was a Center Square.
And that didn't work out,
No, I couldn't imagine why he didn't write me back. I put her photo in there. I said, Mr. Lind. I literally wrote him 2 letters, sent it to Television City in Hollywood, whatever, You should meet my mother. You'll unconfirm as a bachelor. I read in Parade magazine that you're a confirmed bachelor, and here's her photo and her belly dancing outfit. You might want to check her out. She's also an AKA Scheherazade. And I said, And I'd say, how do you get in those squares? Does Tony Fields really have a wooden leg? I was like asking all these questions. Maybe you can adopt me, and I could, you could be my stepdad. And I thought we were going to be, I'm not exaggerating, the first father and son team on the Hollywood Squares. I was picturing it. I had a visual, like the law of attraction. I'd like Craig and Paul Lynde for the win, please. And he'd be up there in the booth with me. Take it, son. It's a sports question. This is what I imagined to happen. And guess what? This is how the universe works. I'm telling you. It's amazing the things that have happened to me. I ended up on Hollywood Squares 75 episodes. Wow. That manifested from. Now, he passed away. I couldn't help that. I wasn't there for his, him recover from what he had. But but Whoopi on the commercials would let me go to the center square and sit with her, and she would be Paul Lynde. Hi, Craig, my stepson. So,
wow.
And so dreams come true for this little boy. Now, she never married Paul Lynde. I would have liked that. And then the other one was I wrote to this. I used to look at baseball cards. I could care less what they hit. All I care was marital status. I would look at the baseball card, and I actually have a ruler to this day. I should show it to you. I erased the Phillies that were married. I could still tell you that Larry Bowa was married to Shayna Bowa. This is back in the 70s. I can remember
You're
all
scouting dads.
I was a scout for dad.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you
And
did.
husbands. More than that, I want a husband for her. She was not happy. My dad, I thought his name was doesn't pay the child support. I thought that was his name, literally. By the way, we buried him a few weeks ago. And my mom came to the funeral, and she never had a good word to say about him. My mom's out of her mind. She's so funny, out of her mind funny. She gets up. She goes, she wasn't even going to go. He was horrible. He was and she gets up. She goes, literally in front of me, she goes, he was a great guy. We're all looking at each other going, what in the hell? And then afterwards she goes, I'm Irish. You can't say something bad about the dead. So she gets up. I say, you don't have to go overboard and make up a story about the guy. No, he was good now and then. Just not a good father or husband or no good whatsoever. So anyway, I would write letters to players, and I picked this one guy, Tim McCarver.
Okay, he sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah, I go, Mom, he's Irish. My mom's really into being Irish. I go, he's Irish, he's a catcher, and I'm a pitcher. He could teach me how to pitch. He can adopt me. And he won a World Series with the Cardinals. He's Steve Carlton's catcher. I was so excited. She goes, he doesn't want me. I go, yes, he does. And I wrote him. He never wrote me back. But things take time. I can curse on here, right?
Oh, hell yeah.
I want to write a book called God's a Slow Motherfucker. Because it does take time. The Grand Canyon didn't become beautiful. It was a little creek at first. Sure. So anyway, it all happened. Joe Buck, I told him that story. It's his longtime broadcast partner, Tim McCarver. Next time I see Joe Buck, he hands me a ball signed by Tim McCarver, and it says, "Dear son, time to grow up."
Oh!
Love, Dad.
That's
AKA
wonderful.
Tim McCarver.
That's wonderful.
And he passed away a few months before my dad. Isn't that weird? And before my real dad.
Did you show that to your mom?
Oh, the ball?
Yeah.
Oh, of course. Yeah, that's my prize. I don't even care about autographs and stuff, but that is my prize one, though. It's time to grow up.
But did your mom ever get married?
Oh yeah, a few times. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, she's done her pathway there.
Okay.
She always marries. My mom. My mom's like Catholic and Protestant, and then she gets married on a chuppah by a rabbi.
Of course, sure.
That's how nuts she is.
I mean, that's, yeah.
So we have Seders, we have Passover, and Easter the same week.
Wow.
And it's really confusing because you're going, which is this? So I say, what is today? I can't get it straight. Is the empty chair for Elijah or Uncle Ray today? It really confused religiously, which is why I ended up in this really wonderful, beautiful pocket of spirit. You know, the religion, I think, is a lot of times for people who are afraid of going to hell, or they're guilty, or their parents, or whatever they do. They just do what their parents tell them to do. Something inside of me said, nah, go for this all power, that we all have. We've got this beautiful light, love, levity within us. Let's get that potency and release it. And that's kind of what I teach, is how do you release that? Well, here's the pathway to do that. That's
what the 12-step thing does. They describe God as your higher power, or what you understand it to be.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's kind of, it broadens it out to everything.
Thank God for that, because I wouldn't have been in there if it was religion, because I'm just too confused religiously.
So 12 steps made more sense to you than any organized religion that you've experienced?
Well, and I'm not supposed to talk about it, and I'm not going to from this point forward, but I will say one more thing about the 12 steps. It's the most brilliantly, perfectly written thing. You cannot find a loophole, and I tried because I did not want to be told what to do. Well, they don't tell you what to do. I don't want to be paying money. Well, you don't pay any money. I don't want people leading me. Well, there are no leaders. I don't want these personalities in my way. No, it's principles for personalities. Every single thing is written so perfectly that the whole world would benefit if they did this. Honest to God, if the whole world did that, then you would be accountable. You would make amends. You would even all my conflicts. Once I apologize, it kind of levels the playing field. We were talking about this beforehand. What I'm going to do with my children that I came up with the other day is I'm going to apologize to them. I'm going to get all 4 of them on a Zoom and say, I'm really sorry for trying to dictate what I thought would make you happy. Just accept that. So because that's how they see it. Oh, here comes the control freak. Tell me who to root for as a team. Tell me what to do. Tell me what games I should play or not play and all that kind of stuff. Just because I didn't have a dad and I'm trying to make up, for that. So I'm trying to be present for them and active.
Well, that's a
so
very normal thing to do. I do it too.
Yeah,
you call it reparenting.
Yeah.
You get you want your kids to have everything you didn't have.
That's exactly right, which made parenting easy in a way.
Yeah.
But also in a way, it's also causing resentment in them. But other people are this way too. I find that anytime I try to rescue, I fixed up 9 marriages. 9 marriages. And I don't think I stayed in touch with any of them.
After you fixed them
I
up?
don't even think I went to their weddings, a lot of them. I mean, it's the craziest thing. I fixed people up with jobs. This one woman, I got her, she's the head of an agency. I found out on Facebook. Never said thank you or anything. Another woman, I got her in an art gallery months ago. Not a word. I see it on Facebook.
Do you think that's because people...
It's a really interesting concept, though, of why they can't...
But I have a theory.
Yeah, I do too.
I think with something that important, people want ownership of their own trajectory.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
I agree. And it's an ego thing too. It's like I would have had this anyway. I would have had this if it wasn't for Craig. And, yes, sure, he made an introduction. I would have met them anyway, or whatever the reasoning is. It's the ego that gets in the way, which I also talk about when I teach. That ego is so strong, you can't even have the humility. Another thing I teach, to say, "Hey, thank you very much for that opportunity." But here's my fault: is I set them up too, and they feel it because I want to be thanked. I want to be the guy that's like the hero that did this for them. So there's my thing that I have to keep dealing with and keep owning. That is, oh man, you rescued again. I have a theory that if I go on a date, I'm going to bring my best friends with me to stop me from the harmful patterns, right? They sit on the restaurant. They're over here in the restaurant.
That's a show.
I'm on my first date. They have a remote and I have a shock collar. I should have known my ex-wife. She started right with rescue. My ex-boyfriend, he cheated on me. He left me with nothing but a futon and a salad bowl. I'm sitting eating up going, really? I have a nice big... You can move it. It'll be different this time.
But
I am dating again. I'm single again.
All right, so how are you going about it?
Not well. These dating apps are unbelievable. I just thought to myself, because I'm really into connection, if you couldn't tell, right? I'm looking at you in the eyes. I'm taking you in. You take my energy in. It's vibration. It's frequency. How do you get that from an app? On the words that they chose to put in their profile or the photos that they chose. Think about if society was based on this years ago. What if Mrs. Edison said, this Mr. Edison, I don't like his beard. Swipe left. We don't have a light bulb.
We don't have a light bulb.
I mean, when you think about it, there's no intimacy now. There's no connection. We need to have that connection. And this is also what I encourage people to do is have yourself connected with your insides without the echo chambers, without the people that you go follow and just repeat their words and their statistics to keep you in fear and anger and rage about someone else.
But do you that's true because that's a method of false engagement to engage us via that instinct, which is not a healthy instinct.
Not a healthy instinct.
So how do you parent your kids? Because I know that when it comes to teenagers, they would much rather do something scary over their phone, like tell someone that they like that person. When they're not getting any of that feedback that comes from the vibrations and the energy.
That's right. Yeah.
So
how can you grow like that? I mean, really. I mean, I don't want to sound like the old fart, but how can you grow like that? I always think to myself, what if the device isn't there? If somehow something happened to internet or something happened with 5G or whatever it is and it disappears, and where are you? You're lost in the woods with no compass, and they don't even know what a compass is. I'm guilty. I don't even know anyone's phone number anymore.
I mean,
I filled out a form. It said emergency number. I wrote 911.
we can ask Garrett this question because he is a certified teenager. But the weird thing is, and your kids probably do this too, they say, I've been talking to this girl when they have not been talking.
Not talking, yeah.
But they use real life words when they're talking about online transactions.
And even when I'm trying to ask someone on a date, they'll say, no, I'm not. I need to know you more. Well, that's the way to get to know me is go on the date. That's how you connect. And I one just now I could show you on a dating app. She goes, no, I'm not going to do it like that. I said, well, let's get off this thing and let's do a phone call. No, I have to get to know you first. You know, be a gentleman, and some version of what a gentleman is. To me, that is a gentleman. I'll open the door for you. Sorry.
Yeah. But why wouldn't she be willing to talk to you on the phone?
They have lines. They have lines like, well, there's that, and there's I want to protect myself too, but there's also this is not a job interview. They have these standard answers now for these things, and I'm just saying, let's connect and see what we have in the world of chemistry. There can be no chemistry in the digital world. It's impossible. It's digital.
I mean, it's a way to eliminate smokers or whatever. I mean,
okay, that's a good one. That's a great one. Yeah, that's off for me. That will not happen. I will not date a smoker again, right? So you're right. You can do a process of elimination, but you can't eliminate conversation. You can have those. Those are like...
And communication is nonverbal. You need to be with somebody,
right.
And you need to feel the vibe, and it's not honest.
And collaboration is It's two. Mm-hmm. It's you have to collaborate, and to be creative. Even if you're having a creative discussion, like my last two women, I went on a date with, and one I talked to on the phone. They actually were really mature, fun, funny, and we just had these really engaging conversations. So that went well, but you never know where it's going to go. I mean, and I just had a big surprise. When I was single, the last time I was single, I was on AOL, a chat room. So there was no dating. All right, be honest, I'm still on AOL. But anyway, but there was no dating apps, like that. There was no swiping. It was just generally you met someone wherever you met them, and so I went all those years of blissful marriage because we actually met in a spiritual center. So we knew we were centered in that. And once she left that, then deified a cult leader. So now she's in a cult.
Oh, boy.
And the whole thing just blew up. And I am so powerless over what to do about that. However, I do know this, that anytime I try to convince her out of the cult, she's going to go deeper into the cult. So if I'm to be, it's like they say attraction rather than promotion. If I'm to be attractive to get her out of there to even have a discussion about it, it's not going to come from me. I've never written one of my long texts or emails and pressed enter and it comes back, thank you, Craig. I never thought of it that way.
Let me ask you a question.
That's
for sharing
hilarious.
your gained wisdom with me, Craig.
But I have one suggestion.
Arrogance.
I have one suggestion. Your son should write to Ellen DeGeneres and say, my dad needs someone, and then he's going to imagine his life on a talk show with her because it would be great. They'd be funny together. Okay. The other question is...
Let me just finish up on this topic. How are your kids about the cult situation?
The two young ones that live with me half the time they've really accepted it. Like they're probably even better at it than I am.
Do they communicate with her?
Well, they're 50% with her.
Oh, okay.
And they're not seeing her go to cult meetings. She does everything in secrecy and privacy, and even they don't understand how she steals money or she, they're not aware of that, but they are aware that mommy left this family for no reason. They watched her go on Zoom calls with this cult leader, hundreds of hours. She just listens to this woman pontificate about business, and they're in different business. The kids see it, they get it. But they love their mom, and they should. And, I'm stuck in a tough position because I'm afraid, where that could go whenever you deify anyone. That's what I'm afraid about with, like Trump people.
With politics,
Any politician. I don't even want to be specific about him.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I think the biggest mistake we do make is I think it feeds the beast if you keep it. I think that the media got him elected the first time. So if you don't want him elected, just don't cover it. Don't stop attacking him. Stop going, oh, here he's a prisoner. Oh, here's another picture of him. all you're doing is you're his promotion machine. Mm-hmm. So that's what you resist persists. But if you embrace it and say, okay, this is another perspective, I'm going to actually listen somewhat. But this woman did this she does it to wives. She takes vulnerable wives who their identities are, they have a powerful husband. I'm a little powerful, you know what I mean? I'm the breadwinner, as they say, you know, I don't like that term, but that's for lack of another word. So I look like the culprit. I look like the bad guy for all generations. I was the guy that enslaved people. I'm the guy, right? A big white guy. I'm the guy that did those things.
That was you?
Yeah. I was the one that said, get my slippers, bitch.
You bastard.
There's nothing wrong with that.
All right, so
I was the one. So I get to be that. So she gets to now escape from, she called it a golden cage and get her sovereign freedom. Exactly. So it's called sovereign freedom, and she convinces these women, there's other women that left their husbands because they get out of their golden cage, she calls it. I'd like to be in a golden cage just for a day. Just for a day, somebody line my cage. Right now I have a cage for a rescue dog that I'm lining.
When I got divorced, and when you have young kids, your circle of friendships is created around other families with young kids. I mean, it's school and sports and all those things.
That's affected because they have to take
sides. So when I got divorced, we were, and I preface this by saying we're better friends now than we were when we were married. So I'm not talking out of school here. But when we got divorced, she had this finely honed victimhood. And I was in show business. So it's obvious why they got divorced, because he's probably got an 18-year-old girlfriend that he's banging between news shows.
Oh, yeah.
When the truth is, that was so wrong. I was never unfaithful to my...
Fritz, did anyone ever say to you when you got divorced, what'd you do?
Yes.
They say they literally go, what'd you do?
Yeah.
That's the assumption. What'd you do?
And truthfully, we were both miserable in the relationship. I was the only one that had the guts to leave.
Yeah.
And, but all my friends, all of the friends we had created over this marriage ghosted me because they immediately assumed that it was my fault.
Right, yeah.
And then when they realized, because I was going over to their house and helping my kids with their homework like 5 nights a week, the only thing I wasn't doing was sleeping there. So when everybody learned that I wasn't leaving and I wasn't the bad guy and I wasn't cheating, and it took years, 5 to 10 years for me to work my way back into this circle of friends because they totally misinterpreted the reality of the relationship. But that victimhood thing is something you can't fight.
And then absolutely. And if the word abuse is ever brought up, you know, I mean, she's been violent and abusive and everything, but you think I'm going to be, who do you think they're going to believe on that one, right?
No, that's very interesting, yeah.
Oh, no. I was
way
arrested.
Toward men.
I was arrested. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
She went off into the dark and went, something's bad here. The police came and they put the cuffs on me and they arrested me. I had COVID. I spent the night in jail. And all they kept saying is, you can thank OJ. I said, please look at the scratches on me. Please look at the bruises. She had beaten me and then ran off and said that I did it, right? And I'm a big guy. If I was to do that, use your common sense. She'd be hurt because I'm a big guy. But the men, because of all of the history, again, it's history. And I've always been so compassionate about women, big time. I was raised a feminist and all that, so I understand that side of it. But there's this pendulum that's swung so much that the Me Too tag gets associated right away. I believe her goes. How much does that happen, right? And it's really difficult for a man, even me saying this now, oh, he's a victim. No, I'm not. I'm trying to make people aware of these things. I was kidnapped by a serial pedophile. I make people aware of that too, on how to look for the signs and not be in denial and have courage to address these things. That's what my freedom that's happened for me is I get to say that now.
Did you just say you were kidnapped by a serial pedophile?
Yeah, when I was 13, yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I talk about it because I'm free. The guy is not, he does not have the keys to my prison.
What happened?
It was a guy that, he befriended me after an Eagles game. I was really into sports. I wanted to, have a dad. I wanted to have a dad so bad. And this guy came up, he became my dad, like a dad figure. And he convinced me that he was he was somehow he got back in the locker room. I met these famous players. I'm a little kid. I'm meeting Roman Gabriel. He's a quarterback, and Harold Carmichael engulfed my hand. It was like unbelievable memories. And then he took me away to Washington, D.C., and I was approved to go away because who would ever think this? And I thought I was going to go to this. I bragged to my friends, they're going to have the white gloves at our limo. And it was literally a ghetto hotel. It was a guy behind bars with a skeleton key that he would hand him. And It was just everything just switched on a dime for this little boy that was so dreaming of not only a dad and a father figure, of going to the game that weekend. The Philadelphia Eagles were playing the Redskins, and it was this, all this was proposed to me as this gigantic dream come true, and it turned into the biggest nightmare I could ever imagine. I was there for 5 days. I couldn't get out. And it turns out that's what he is. That's what he was. And that's another example of people. When I speak to people, I say, get to your truth and tell the truth, because if you hide the truth, then you end up suicidal and drug addicted. And I held on to that secret for a long time. And you're only as sick as your secrets. That became a sickness in me. I could not drink that away. I could not do enough drugs to make that go away.
Did your mom know about that?
My mom knew about it right away, and that was one of the issues I had with my mom. She wouldn't do anything about it. She didn't do anything. She was angry that he called her at 3 a.m. I'll never forget that. She goes, he called me, he woke me up. I was like, he also took your son away, but she, it was all about her. But I'm very healed with my mom. My mom just called me a few minutes ago. I love my mom so much, and she ended up apologizing for it. She basically said to me, I just didn't know what else to do. I didn't know what else to do.
She wanted you to have a fatherly experience and didn't understand that he was a pedophile.
Oh, my God, of course. She was so happy. This guy's out of my hair. He stops blaming me because I was blaming him. Look at this. And I tried suicide. I mean, after that, I took these neckties and I tied them around this closet, and I tied them on the knob, and I had them. I had my little noose that I made from Boy Scouts. I learned that. And I hung there for a little bit until my mom walked in.
Holy
and this
cow.
is typical of my mom. She goes, what are you doing? Oh, my God. Those are new neckties.
Wow.
Get up. And I got up. I was on my knees. I could get up anytime I wanted, but it was like a combination of I wanted to die so that other people would regret treating me like this. I wanted to die where I could be behind a tree at the funeral and go, hey, I'm over here.
It's Tom Sawyer, yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. He went to his own funeral. Or Huckleberry Finn, he went to his own funeral.
Wow.
And sat up
See,
in the
then
attic and listened to everybody eulogize.
I'm not original.
No, that's okay. That's no. It's
the reason that Mark Twain wrote that is because everyone imagines that.
Oh, yeah. Like, what are they going to say then? And then they're going to regret treating me like that. So,
who's your classic client? Can you describe a typical client?
Somebody that thinks that they are boring, somebody that thinks that they don't have creativity, someone that believes, that they need an extra spark in their lives. They want more happiness. They want more joy. They want to feel more fulfilled because they found out that no matter how much they sell, it's not going to lead to that internal happiness. So I teach them how to alchemize, how to use alchemy with laughter, and how to turn that into everything in life, and just switch everything around. I turn everything around.
And what are some of the...
nothing that stops me. I'm really, really... Resilience is my big word.
Oh,
nothing
yeah,
ever stops me.
No, I hear that.
And I've had... And this cult thing, by the way, this was a stumper. And my dad's a cult leader to top it all off.
Wait,
he
what?
became a cult leader. My dad.
What do you mean?
So this is like history repeating
You mean-
itself. Not in a
wait,
good way. My dad had his own cult in the Pocono Mountains.
Is that why he left your family?
No. He left... There's one woman. It's pretty funny, but I knew her. This woman was like his front person. Would tell my mom the child support checks coming and never was. She was dedicated to him. Ann Gallagher, and not real like. Anyway, I couldn't even imagine them together. He would always surround himself with lots of women. And he eventually had what he called his harem. There were 14 different women, mother, daughter, and he ran mule rides, these giant mules in the Pocono Mountains. I actually was involved in business with him a little bit. I would go up on weekends and help him with my friends build the farm, and I watched how cult leaders operate. What he would do is he'd rank us. Every day he would rank us. Like, Rob's number one. This is my friend, me and my friend.
So he's pitting you against each other.
He pits you against each other. And he did it with the women, too. Mother, daughter. This one, they would wrap up their sleeping bag and they'd get to sleep with him in his room called the King of the Poconos. He called himself. Wow. He goes, get over that comedy crap, be part of my empire. I go, I'm going to be Prince of the Poconos. I can't wait for that. So we would go for these mule rides and things like that. And I watched how it operated. And this is how society operates, too. It's this peer pressure and it's this FOMO and it's this... It's people, they empower someone, they deify someone to dictate how they feel about themselves.
It's an interesting recurring theme in your life. Your father was a cult leader, your wife left, so there's only one thing left, you have to start a cult. That's what they're suggesting.
I thought about it. I'm too codependent. I'd be going, how are you feeling about this?
I want to start a cult called Jews for Elvis. I just like the title. I don't know what we'd do.
Well, you would love Elvis.
Okay.
Great, by the way, great movie. That performance of Austin Butler.
Holy cow.
It was a tour de force that I have not. I mean, that was unbelievable watching that kid be Elvis.
Yeah.
You know, some people are born to do something. He was born to do that. I was born to be around cults, I guess, and not. I guess what. And mule rides. One time I was in the Poconos, and they think I'm this Hollywood guy, and the guy's giving me this. It's this blue collar honeymoon capital of the Northeast. They have like heart-shaped pools in the rooms, and the guy's giving me a tour. I'll never forget this. He goes, over here, he's got this Shoemaker coal mining accent. Over here, you got your quoits, and you got your racquetball. Greg, you ever play quoits? Do you know what quoits are? Quoits, oh, they're big in Pennsylvania here. Oh, yeah, over there, we got over there, I got basketball. You like basketball there, Craig? He goes, oh, my gosh, look at this here. Oh, there's A.J. Shoemaker and his harem. What's that nut doing here? And I got to go, that's my dad. And the guy goes, oh, didn't figure that one. Shoemaker, I guess that's the same name. And my dad walks up, and he stole my cheese tray, my complimentary cheese tray for the big star from Hollywood. The girls at the ranch will love this. Judy loves Gouda. He takes it back, took it to the girls at the ranch. But this is the way some people need that.
But don't you feel like Elvis was in a cult of one? He was in the Colonel Tom Parker cult, where he saw himself through the lens of this guy. He never really saw
the
himself.
Memphis Mafia might have been a cult. They were all living in the same house.
I was about to say that, yeah.
So he never
they were
felt
followers.
Yeah.
He never felt any personal agency that we think he should have felt based on his talent, but he had just so much that he was responsible for, and he hadn't been raised to be that powerful. So he surrounded himself with people that he's thought would help him with that.
On your website, you make another comment that I found really interesting, and that is that after a tragedy, laughter and humor can be your great salvation. And I look at your life, you've had some really tragic slaps in your life, and humor was your defense mechanism.
Absolutely. What literally got me out of being beaten up. I mean, I was beaten as a kid, too. Oh, my God. 8th grade was the worst. We moved again. We used to move. I thought the word evict meant move. Like, here's the eviction truck, Mommy, and then we move again. And it was just like this real source of angst and worry and depression. So we moved to 8th grade, and I went out for the football team. That's the way you bond is sports. You got to bond with sports. Now, I was very tiny. I was 5'1", 92 pounds in high school. But at this time, I was 70 pounds. No, not even. And I went out for, it was called the 115-pound football team in 8th grade. 115 was the max, but still, that's big, when you're only 70. So I was the center, so I could always touch the ball, and no one else wanted to be the center. That was my logical thinking. And now I'm going to be in the group. I'm in the gang. It's an undefeated team. They beat the hell out of me, even in the huddle. He would go, good snap, bam, smash me, make my bloody nose. Then they beat me in the locker room. They tore my underwear to the point where I was embarrassed, couldn't even tell my mom I needed new underwear because they would just tear it apart like a coyote wilding. Whoa. But I had no one to go to. There was never that protection. And that's the feeling that stayed with me until today. I mean, there's no one there to protect me, and that's what I do with the kids, though. That's how I raise them. I go, there is no shot that they would ever feel like that. There's no shot that they would ever feel betrayed or let down or something like that. So even if they don't like me, my kids, they don't speak to me, that's one thing at the bottom line is they're going to know that I love them unconditionally. That there's
How
no
old
way
are your kids?
25, 19, 14 just turned, and 9 years old. The 14-year-old is probably about 73, though. He's a very old soul.
73.
But that's within the window of a tough time for a marriage to break up. So you're not going to be the hero in that until this is all over, and the dust is behind you.
I am the hero for the young ones.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, they know
so
I'm
glad to hear
stable.
that.
Oh, no.
Good.
I thank God I'm stable. I just got them a dog. They said it was the greatest day of their life. We rescued a dog. And they watched their mother say, I'm not going to touch the dog. You know what I mean? Like that cult will really do a number on you. It's really a shame. My biggest disappointment in life, if I were to sum it up, is people's lack of courage. One of the best things I ever did was I did an alcohol intervention once. My friend, her sister, we went there in the afternoon, and she was sitting there with beer cans and everything. I got on that bed, and it was one of the most courageous days of my life. Well, everyone went back like this. They were frightened. What do you think she's going to do to you? And I got on that bed and said, we love you. And look at what you're doing to yourself. And I remember she actually said to me, geez, you gained weight, Shoemaker. And I actually took that to heart. Here's this drunk in the middle
Don't
of the day.
turn this around on me.
This drunk's telling me that I gained weight, and I actually did look
But
in
I
the
can
mirror
still
right
walk out of here under my own power.
That's-
Get off the bed.
And she's there dabbing blood from her, literally, dabbing blood from her elbow. And she says, oh, it's because of the bed. I go, no, it's not because of the bed. And then she ended up in rehab. But that was one of the greatest moments of my life. And I wish more people would do that, is have courage to confront someone who is causing harm. Have the courage. Don't hide behind digital. Go up to somebody and say, you know what? This really hurts people, and you might want to examine yourself. That's the one disappointment I have. Like, I have nobody of my ex-wife's friends that would believe me or help me help her. That's really upsetting to me.
But what happened to her friendships then? When
No,
she
has the friendships because now they can all say, "Oh, he's the bad guy she escaped
Yeah,
from."
that's what that magical victimhood is tough. It's
Oh.
tough to fight that.
But
It
if
is.
she, but
Yeah.
isn't she? When you're in a cult, aren't you excluding everyone you used to know?
Oh no.
Okay.
No. She won't claim this because she admits to the first cult. This woman brought her into the first cult. They got me for $80,000. This one.
That's
got
what
me
I was
for
going to say.
hundreds of thousands.
Oh my God. Oh. Man.
Yeah. I mean, in different ways. Oh, here, invest in this business and these multi-level marketing. Oh, and I have to go to Australia and learn a dance. And it's just all this ego stuff. I wish I was kidding. For the freedompreneurs. I mean, I wish I could write. I am writing a book about it.
So is it sort of
you
like?
should,
Is it
man.
wait? So Craig, is it like on the Mary Kate? What's the name of the where they have pink cars?
Mary Kay Cosmetics.
Is it on that
That's
spectrum?
just the pyramid scheme.
I thought she was talking about the Olsen twins.
No, not the Olsen twins.
Mary Kate and Ashley.
No, they're-
Olsen.
Right, but is it on that spectrum where it's some sort of pyramid scheme of like?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay,
That-
so
that-
it can seem like a business if you're not
It is.
until they
it
start
is.
running each other's lives.
It is a business.
Okay.
But this woman who's at the top of it, this woman who literally has these listening parties, she calls them, she just pontificates and just recites from her ego. And the first one did it, and then everybody left her. She got us for $500,000, and now this one's doing it. But it's all under the guise of, I had someone term this, and again, I have the courage to warn people. It's a wellness grift. It's people that claim.
Ooh.
Isn't that
Great
cool?
term.
Isn't that a
Yeah.
cool term? My friend who has a big yoga studio here, she said that. I can't take credit for that. I went, wow, did that connect? Because that's what it is. They draw in people who are vulnerable, middle-aged, menopause. You know what menopause means? Put men on pause. That's what that means. So,
But we're in a time in this planet, and specifically in our country, where people are just floundering. They're trying to find something, so it's easy for these wellness grifts to work.
exactly.
And there's some documentaries that give me some insight, like the one with the clothing. What's the one with the clothing, Dina? Lulu or
Oh
Lu-
yeah, I saw that.
How about Orgasm Inc? They're part of that too.
Oh yeah,
What
yeah,
is
yeah,
that?
That
yeah,
one?
yeah.
No.
It's a sex.
It's an orgasm cult. And this woman's actually in that too. She's an offshoot of that. She has her own orgasm thing. I'm like, I'll
They
take,
get
I'll take
together and
that
they
if
all
it's
teach
if
one
it's at
another.
home.
I mean, it's a provocative title for sure.
Well, absolutely. So, but it's this, people when they're, mixed up and confused, they need to be led. They need strong leaders sometimes, and they deify and empower these leaders to dictate how they feel about themselves. So now she does that, and then they're saying, "Oh, he criticizes you because you just want to live your dreams." Well, you got to pay for them. I'm funding it. I got no problem with that. I mean,
It somehow
it's all
feels-
hypocritical. It's all ridiculous.
It somehow feels easier than a marriage, which it's an infrastructure, but it feels easier than the one that you're involved in, which is your husband and your kids, and where you have to make a lot of your own choices.
Yeah, and all the energy is going
difficult
one way in a cult. It's all going toward the cult leader. The money,
that's
the
right.
energy, the
That's
love,
exactly right.
the
Right.
adoration is
That's
all
Right,
going
right,
toward the
right.
exactly
cult.
right.
So it allows you to feel a part of something without as much personal responsibility.
That's exactly right. And they claim to teach personal responsibility when it's not. It's really not. It's just adulation for this leader, and you have to listen to her. And and it's funny because the cult leader's boyfriend is attacking me now. He's on my. He texted me, and he's threatening me and things like that because I'm like just trying to tell the truth here. He doesn't want to hear the truth. So I actually had videos. My kids made videos and told the guy to F off.
Good.
Well, is
Basically,
is
not in their
family
own little
court
way.
involved, and how does family court look at this
Family
type
court
of
doesn't-
dynamic?
Nah, they don't. There has to be blood. I've been through this before. There has to be literally blood, and this is the other problem with people with no courage. Is like her friends should say something to her. Her friends, they recognize it. I used to get private emails and say what happened to her because they see her Facebook posts, and it's just wacky. But people this is what I don't like about people. They're just afraid to confront. They're so afraid of conflict that they don't live in truth. And this is the thing, is we have what happens is a pile of lies and a pile of lies and a pile of lies, and the truth truly will set you free. And I've had great experiences with her, by the way, where in my own process, I went to Maui with my kids, right? The 9-year-old and the 14-year-old. And they were supposed to be with me as holiday break. She happened to be in Maui, my ex-wife. On the way over, this higher source spoke to me and said, write her a note. 22 pages came out of me. It was full mea culpa, full, not a zero zinger of I did this because, there was no because she always says it because. I always say it's like the Wizard of Oz, because of the awful things he does. So I didn't have one because. Everything was apology, absolute full remorse, only my side of the street. Nothing about what she had done, nothing about theft, nothing about stealing, lies, anything, nothing about her, all about what I did to create this. And I said, there will be a note waiting for you at my hotel. If you're into it, we'll be at the pool. If not, just go on your vacation with your sister, which she already was. She said she was a page in, she started crying, and she texted me. And she said, I'm crying already. And it manifested into a beautiful vacation, which we all took together. We ended up all of us together.
Wow.
There was no cult leader.
That's awesome.
There was it was just freedom.
Family.
And I allowed that to happen. And she started to apologize to me. I said, you don't have to right now. Just accept this. Just accept this. This is me saying mea culpa, my side of the street. But again, this isn't a bragging thing. It's literally a suggestion for people. I got out of my ego, and it really gave the kids something that they deserve. They deserve somebody. One of the parents to have courage to stop fighting.
Right.
And they had the time of their lives. They were lit up. And then, unfortunately,
that's all kids want. They want their family.
Of
they
course,
want the harmony.
and it all went back downhill. It didn't sustain. Once we got back to the mainland, ironically, then the cult leader starts to get in her head and all that kind of stuff. But it's deifying people that I just think that we need to stop. We need to really take a break and listen to ourselves. Listen, there's something inside of us, this potency that wants to be released, but it doesn't want to be tamped down. And here's the biggest thing I teach. You were asking me what I teach.
Yeah.
We're all born love, light, and levity. We're born like that. And then we have to comply. Then we got to get in line. My book is Get Out of Line into Alignment. Get in your own alignment. Your alignment is love, light, and levity until they say, no, stop that. They shame you for laughing. What are you laughing at? They say in Philadelphia, what are you laughing at? Right? Stop that. Don't be silly. Wipe that smile off your face. These are the voices that we hear. And then here you get a grade because you know that Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1492. I know the Nina Pinta to Santa Maria. I know all that stuff. Good job, Craig. Here's an A. What good does that do me today? Is there any subtext to what Columbus did, by the way? Is there any real history to that?
That's kind of evaporating right now.
No, it's all memorization, and that's we memorize what they want us to memorize, and then you get rewarded for it. But why are we not rewarded for being who we truly are? In 4th grade, I was finally who I truly am. I started telling a story. I'll never forget this. This was really my biggest moment of my life. I told a story. I was in new school again, beaten. I was poor. We were poor. I was caught with a thimble sewing my pants by a rich kid in the bathroom, and he came back and shamed me. It was really a bad year. I was beaten in wedgies and swirlies and thrown in the toilet. And this one day I started telling a story about actually my mom beating me. And I went, oh, my God, these people are, like, paying attention. They start laughing. Man, this guy who hates me is giving me attention. Then I embellished the story. I said, yeah, she beat me so bad I had candy flying out. I was a piñata. Ah! They were laughing. I go, man, this is unbelievable. I felt such power. It was like a voice inside me going, this is a theory. This is amazing. I didn't know that word back then. And the next day she took me and she locked me in a closet for a whole day with my hands bound behind my back with blue yarn.
Your mom or
the teacher, Mrs. Stout. She took my hands and bound me, and she said, you sit on this box, you think about that the entire day. I was only allowed to eat with my hands free. And that moment, I was spoken to. Because there's nobody that's going to encourage you to do comedy. No parent, teacher, peer, nobody says go do comedy, or you got to really screw up. And the voice said, no, you keep going. And I'm so glad that I did, because I was able to share this gift, turning tragedy into laughter, into joy, into happiness.
Yeah,
I'm
there
able
was
to do
also power over your enemies. You got recognized from people who
Yeah.
were beating you up, and you were also assuaging your own bad feelings.
Exactly. That's exactly right. The shame went away.
Really cool.
It was really beautiful. It was a beautiful moment. And because I stayed being a comedian, I had the strangest story happen. There was this minister. I spoke at this church, and like I said, I'm not really necessarily a Christian, but I spoke about laughter healing to this group of Christian men. And the minister comes up and he goes, "I always wanted to meet you." And he's a really sweet guy. And he goes up and he tells a story about 28 years ago. He was studying to be a pastor, and he had a best friend was his mentor, married, 3 kids. He wanted to be this guy, big Christian, and he had a fiance. She got pregnant. And he took her to his parents' house, and he said, "This is my fiance, and she's going to have our child." And he said, "No, you abort that child, or we'll never speak to you again," his parents. He said, "We disown you." He says, "I can't do that. It's against my religion." He said, "Well, then get out of our house. You are not our child anymore." And he leaves the house, and he's, "Oh, my God, I don't have parents anymore." She takes her ring and puts it on the dashboard, and she goes, "I can't marry you. This is not your child. It's your best friend's child." Whoa. Now, this guy, we're hearing the story, and we're devastated. Imagine being this guy. He's betrayed by his parents, her, and the Christian guy who's teaching him Christianity, who's screwing his fiance and impregnates her. And all that's going behind it. He's completely distraught and suicidal, understandably. He knows exactly where he's going to do it. He's going to drive off this cliff to the left. It's one of the most extraordinary stories, and it goes back to the 4th grade, that I've ever been a part of. And this is why I say that sometimes things are being scripted that we can't ever analyze or ever come up with in our brain. So he tells that story on stage and that day to these Christian men. And that night I went to Kenny Loggins, my old buddy. He's doing a song called Peace of Mind. I was really, really feeling divine and feeling this beautiful spirit, just feeling love in the air. And it was so beautiful. Here's my friend Kenny saying Peace of Mind. And the guy texted me, that pastor, and he says, "The reason I didn't drive off that cliff," he says, "someone had just handed me a CD of a comedian named Craig Shoemaker."
Holy cow.
What?
He says, "I laughed till I cried." He goes, "You saved my life. And I've always wanted to meet you, and I'm your friend forever."
Oh, my God.
He's one of my closest friends today.
Oh, what's his name?
I walk with him, Rob.
Rob.
And I walk with him, and I debate him on religion. He brings it to the pulpit. I go there sometimes. He talks about it because I have resistance to certain things like sin and things like that, and religion, blah, blah, blah. And that was the moment I went, oh, that voice was strong. That voice said, "You keep going." So I was able to make this comedy, to make this CD that saved this guy's life. And then a week later, he met his wife, and they're married to this day, and they have 5 children. And all of that happened because this guy happened to be handed that CD that made him laugh till he went, "Man, life is worth living." And that's the thing about laughter that people don't understand. It makes life worth living. My best friend, Michael Goldberg, wrote Cool Runnings, Little Giants. We bonded all the time through laughter. His daughter was born in laughter. She was conceived with him imitating my Love Master character, blah, blah, blah. He was given he was given 3 months to live. And his daughter was 1.5 years old. And that's when I started Laughter Heals. He showed up for all of it. He wanted to laugh every day of his life. He put that in his prescription. He lived 15 years past the doctor's prognosis. 15 years because he just added laughter to his life.
Talk about your .org. I want to hear the information where people
That's where it was founded, because
Right.
Golds is my muse.
Laughterheals.org.
Yeah. And we're all about the healing powers of laughter, raising the awareness of the power of laughter. We're now iPads and things, we're bringing them to hospitals. We need money for that. And also my guided laughitation programs and chuckle chatters and bringing my Winning with Laughter. The programs I train other facilitators, bring them to hospitals, aftercare facilities, wounded warriors, first responders. People are stressed out there, and this is the great relief of it. And look what it did for that guy. It gave him hope. That guy had hope to live, and because he went, man, I can laugh like this again? How crazy is that?
That's beautiful.
And it gave him another chance, and it turned out his whole life flipped. I think it was the following week he met his wife. His life completely
It's just
flipped.
like that, you were able to flip his energy. Not just that he was laughing in that moment and having that realization, but his energy shifted.
Exactly.
And that attracted good things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
And it attracted his now wife to him, where he has an understanding within his spirit that this is more important than the misery. This is more important than the resentments. This is more important than the anger, the rage. This is more important to me. But we don't put it at the most. We put resentment and rage and let's get the justified misery loves company. Let's go find some people to collude and enable me. That's what my ex-wife has.
Yeah.
She's got all these people going, you escaped from that marriage.
I think we think that it's more important.
That's what they believe.
I think we think it's more important to put out a fire, but it's a perceived fire.
It's perceived. You're right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. We should hang out more often. I'm tired of agreeing with you.
Yeah, let's find.
I've had it with that. I want some conflict.
Well,
with
here's something that you may have a problem with. I'm going to insert a little ad here because our friend John Mills of the Mills Brothers Legacy will be performing live in Studio City at 7:30 on Monday, October 9th at the Write-Off. He's got a new band and it's going to be great. And I'm going.
Just there. I just saw my friend Mary Lou Henner there.
Oh, Mary Lou Henner.
The Write-Off's a beautiful
Love
place.
her. Yeah, so we're going to go there.
The Mills Brothers?
He is the son of Donald Mills of the Mills Brothers. That's his dad there on the right.
First concert I ever saw.
That handsome man right there.
At the Valley Forge Music Fair.
Oh, you went to see
George
Valley Forge?
Carlin.
And I saw him there too.
That was my first exposure to a live stand-up, and it was a transformative moment in my life.
Right?
It was a religious experience.
A religious experience, exactly. Rich Little, too. I wouldn't call that religious, but I did see him there, too. It was a beautiful place, and I saw the Mills Brothers there.
The Mills Brothers, so we're going to go see John, and here's his ad.
It's a new beat in the century-long legacy of the Mills family name. And a collection of the best musicians. It's John Mills's super band, Orchids in Zoom.
Orchids in Zoom.
For one night only, Monday, October 9th at 7:30 at Studio City's Write-Off Room, 11502 Ventura Boulevard. The legacy continues. John Mills's Orchids in Zoom. Monday night, October 9th at 7:30 at the Write-Off Room in Studio City. Advance ticket purchases available now at eventbrite.com.
What else do we need to mention before we close with you, Craig?
Well,
what about the Bill Bellamy tour? Are you guys still doing that?
No, that's wait.
Oh, okay.
One and done.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
But I love that guy, and I would love to tour with him. But I'm really not wanting to do stand-up. I do it at a very high level right now, like the highest I've ever been. It's amazing. I do 2-hour shows, hour-and-a-half shows. I mean, it really is incredible, the experience. It's like being a conductor of a wonderful symphony of which everyone is involved.
Yeah.
I love it, but I don't love promoting myself at all. I don't love everything else that comes with it. I don't like the ego that comes with it. I just want to make people laugh. And if I could do that, like I have this group, I have a group, like a course, and they took a course, and I take them through an 8-week program. If I could have more of those, I'd be much happier. Or we go Zoom, and other people, they do their fun assignments, and they bring their fun assignments and things like that, and to have other people experience joy that they create, and to think that I helped inspire that to me is better than standing ovations. You know what I mean? Where you think that you can help someone.
Life-changing.
Yeah, if you can help them change their lives and give them the tools and the keys and the pathways, like the Shift Sherpa.
It's like teaching a man to fish.
Yeah, exactly. So I could teach anyone how to be funny. No one believes me. I can absolutely teach anyone to be funny. And find your own funny, by the way. Not some telling another joke, a corny joke or whatever it is. But sharing your own experiences, because everyone's funny. It's just that we're told that we're not. And like I said, we're a program. So my program is about reconditioning the way we're conditioned. We're conditioned from get-go. Do this, do that, do this. Sit in the corner. Here, I'll give you a reward. I'll give you an award. Here's a medal. Here's a pin. Here's a ribbon. That's what we're taught. Oh, good. What good do those things do? I just threw out a bowling trophy the other day. Who cared? No, it was a baseball. Who cared? You know what I mean? I was holding on to this thing. I'm starting to get rid of this thing. I'm doing this whole purge.
You're purging
right now. What do I call it, Gianni? I call it
30-day cast.
30-day cast. Instead of fast, I'm casting things.
Oh, no, I did that when I moved. I threw out everything that I didn't want. I saved things that were meaningful to me. I invited my son to take what he wanted, and I had a truckload, an 18-wheeler full of stuff that I didn't care about. Tapes in my garage from early in my career. Then here's the way I thought about it. My mom died, and I'm an only child. Yeah. So I had to go to her house and sort this crap out. And I said, what made her think that anybody gives a shit about all this stuff in her closet.
same here.
Nobody. And when I die, my kids are not going to care about a 2-inch videotape of me trying to do stand-up in Buffalo, New York.
And you think, like they're going to sit around and go, we're having a party there to watch my dad on AM Philadelphia when he was a 24-year-old upstart comedian.
No,
let's watch him.
exactly.
Oh, wow.
So
I wish he was alive to tell these jokes about Andy Rooney coming out of a womb. Who cares? That's exactly right.
No.
I
hold on to this stuff.
I want to differ. I think you should throw away the bowling trophy for sure. But those tapes could have been digitized.
I've digitized everything that
Same
would
here.
be
I
of value
digitized.
to
You
humanity.
can digitize your bowling trophy.
It means nothing. It means absolutely. There's no worth to these things. And you're right. The kids could not care.
No,
I
it was just
my dad. I have his stuff. Nothing. There's a
nothing
couple
there.
articles I thought were interesting. A couple photos. The rest I'm going. Even that, I have such a hard time because I grew up poor. I'm going, I don't want to throw this away. Of course I want to throw it away. It means nothing to
it was even
anyone.
beyond that. Forget the emotional connection. I looked at it and said, what is this? Stuff I couldn't even identify. Throw it away, man.
You know what I kept? I made homemade bongs when I was a kid. I still have a few of those. I thought to myself, that the resin in there would probably get somebody like really, really high. Just the resin that's been there for 40-some years.
Homemade bombs.
I made bongs, not bombs.
Oh, bongs.
No wonder you had a reaction like that. You thought I was making. Thank God we clarified. At dinner tonight, she'd be going, I really liked him a lot, but then he talked about homemade bombs. I thought to myself,
backyard
is he
full
the
of-
Unabomber? Is he Timothy McVeigh in Oklahoma City? What is wrong with this guy?
Bongs. Sure,
Bongs.
why not? Keep the
Okay.
bongs.
Yeah.
For sentimental.
Well, sentimental reasons. Well, maybe my kids can use them. They're a legacy I will pass on.
Their legacy item.
Yeah.
All right, here come our closing credits. Thank you so much for joining us. We would love to continue this conversation with you on Instagram and Twitter, where we are at MediaPathPod, and on Facebook, where our show page is MediaPath Podcast, and our Facebook group is MediaPath with Fritz and Wheezy Podcast Community. You can find full video podcast episodes loaded with bonus visual content on our YouTube channel, MediaPath Podcast. And you can write to us at MediaPathPodcast@gmail.com. If you enjoyed this show, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and give us a nice rating in Apple Podcasts. Do all of the above before you throw out your bowling trophies. It's a priority. And talk about us on social media. Your friends would just love you for it. You can sign up for our spicy little newsletter at MediaPathPodcast.com. And we want to thank our wonderful, amusing, and insightful, wise guest, Craig Shoemaker. Our team includes producer Dina Friedman, John Maddox, Bill Filipiak, Thomas Hubble, Mason Brown, Lori DeWall, Garrett Arch, Chris Baldwin, Jordan Reyes, and you. Our theme music is by me and John Maddox. I am Louise Palanker here with Fritz Coleman and Craig Shoemaker. Be well and wise, and we will see you along the media path. I know. Why does it take so many people?
That's the longest one we've ever